Shikamaru Nara has spent his entire life proving one simple truth: brain always beats brawn, or at least most of the time. From the moment that he was introduced, his story has been a long-running shogi match against the world itself. Every major turning point in his life, it was always tied to strategy, foresight, and in some cases, sacrifice. His games with Asuma Sarutobi, they weren't about winning, they're about learning when a piece needs to be lost. His battle with Tamari, it was a battle of wit. It taught him that intelligence without emotional awareness, it is incomplete. His encounters with someone like monsters like Madara and Obito Uchiha, Shikamaru proved that preparation and understanding the chessboard, it allows someone as weak as him to stand toe-to-toe against god tiers of power. He came up with an impressive strategy during the Ninja War, but all those opponents, they all shared one fatal weakness. They were shinobi. They played on a battlefield where logic and traps and chakra, they mattered. Even that idiot in Hidan fell in that camp. But now, Shikamaru is facing somebody who doesn't care about chakra. He doesn't fight fair. And he doesn't need to win to destroy Shikamaru, because Lord Kobu isn't just playing shogi. Instead, he is playing authority, and that's what makes him the most dangerous opponent that Shikamaru has ever faced. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's newest Naruto Explained video. So grab those ramen bowls and join your OBC, your original Boruto chief, for this newest Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion, where we see how much trouble the 8th Hokage with his 400 level IQ is truly in. So we first have to start with why Kobu is a threat that Shikamaru can't truly neutralize. Kobu's power doesn't come from strength or from fear. It comes from legitimacy. He represents the will of the Feudal Lord of the Land of Fire, the civilian authority that exists above the shinobi system itself. That distinction, it is crucial because it means that Kobu doesn't need proof in the way that a shinobi does. He just needs plausibility. His investigation into why Boruto Uzumaki hasn't been executed yet isn't fueled by emotion or by vengeance. It is fueled by one simple pragmatic question: who is protecting him? That's why his interrogation style, it is so dangerous. When he speaks to Konoha Sarutobi, Kobu immediately narrowed the situation down to two outcomes. Konohamaru is genuinely too incompetent to realize that he's being used, or Konohamaru is lying to protect someone else. Notice what Kobu doesn't assume here. He never assumes innocence. That is a bureaucrat's mindset. And that's the opposite of Shikamaru's shinobi instincts. Shikamaru is a Hokage right now, which is a political figure, but at the end of the day, Shikamaru is a shinobi. Then when you look at Mitsuki, this is where Kobu nearly ended everything. The timing fit, the access fit, the emotional connection, it could be argued to be there. Kobu was seconds away from pinning it all on Mitsuki, not because Mitsuki was guilty, though he did play a role in Boruto escaping, but because the narrative lined up and it worked. And then that's when Konohamaru suddenly stepped in. He told the handcuff lie, and that's when Kobu truly learned the truth. Kobu saw right through Konohamaru's handcuff story, and that is one of the most important moments in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex so far. Yes, it doesn't have a Rasengan or flashy jutsu, but it is an important moment nevertheless, because Kobu didn't believe it. Not for a second. He flat out laughed in Konohamaru's face. Instead, he realized it's something far more dangerous. If Konohamaru is doing something like this, then he's covering for someone that he can't afford to betray. And in that instant, Kobu shifts his target. It's not necessarily Boruto. It's not necessarily Mitsuki. Instead, he's now looking at Shikamaru. And that moment, that's where this stops being an investigation and it becomes a potential political execution waiting to happen. Because now Kobu knows the truth isn't asking the question about who helped Boruto. The true question that he should be asking is why Boruto keeps surviving. Both of those questions do go hand in hand, but it's the order in which you ask the questions that matter the most. And that brings me to Kashin Koji's warning about a future that's built truly on one man. Before Kobu ever entered the room with Shikamaru, the board, it was already truly set when you think about it. Kashin Koji delivered a warning that reframed everything for us as readers. Under no circumstances can Kobu obtain evidence that can remove Shikamaru? Not because Shikamaru is morally correct. No, we know that boy is guilty, but because the timeline requires Shikamaru to be Hokage. In order to ensure the easiest path to defeat Jura, Kashin Koji said that Shikamaru must remain in power. And at that moment, that's when Kashin Koji did something that is quite chilling. And given Kashin Koji is a pragmatist at heart, a consequentialist at heart, I don't think that we can ignore what it is he did. He stepped away. He refused to interfere any further. He quite literally tells Shikamaru, everything from here on out is in your hands. Meaning that everything from this point forward is Shikamaru's burden alone. If Kashin Koji ends up speaking to Shikamaru through Inojin, it's only because Koji has a motive. For the first time in his life, Shikamaru might be in a position where he has a problem that intelligence alone won't allow him to solve it, because intelligence is quite literally what put him in this situation. And that brings me to this next and most important point. Authority without ceremony is a legal trap that Shikamaru is walking into. I don't think enough people have paid attention to the fact that Kobu does have leverage here that is overwhelming, and the story has planted the seeds for it already, especially when you understand the lore in the Naruto world. Shikamaru is acting as Hokage. He's not officially installed. That is a technicality, that is a loaded weapon. You can be named Hokage. The Feudal Lord can literally say, hey, you're the Hokage now. But until you have that ceremony, which Shikamaru's never done, you are literally not the Hokage. You have the power of the Hokage. You have the authority of the Hokage, but you don't officially have the title. For my US viewers, it's kind of like being a president-elect. You're not officially the president until January 20th when you get sworn in. You have some of the power of the president. Your words carry a lot of weight, but you're not officially president until January 20th. It's the same thing with the Hokage position. Shikamaru himself in Boruto Blue Vortex has been pressed to have his Hokage ceremony, to make things official, yet he's never done so. And looking at the chessboard right now, even though he said he'll use the Hokage authority to issue battlefield orders, like saying, if it comes down to it, if Mitsuki is still in interrogation with Kobu, then I am going to have Mitsuki taken out to the battlefield if need be, even if Kobu dislikes it, like Sai was warning, because he's saying he has to protect the village during that Mamushi crisis. However, there is a problem with that. Even though Mitsuki is now cleared of interrogation, if Shikamaru tries to throw around the Hokage weight, Kobu can counter with a single sentence. You do not legally possess the full authority of the Hokage. You can call shots, but at any moment the Feudal Lord can have you removed. I am acting on the behest of the Feudal Lord. Like longtime viewers of the channel, you've heard me say it before repeatedly. Language is important. Kobu specifically stressed to Shikamaru, you are the interim Hokage. It's not official. He used interim for a reason. Suddenly, everything that Shikamaru says, it becomes questionable. Now, I want you to layer in the worst possible development that could unfold, which is Kobu learning that Boruto's back in the village. This would be something that once again has happened. Kobu showing back up in the village. Boruto showing back up in the village. He's likely gonna learn Boruto's out there fighting those Mamushi clones. If he's assisting Himawari in Team 10 to Kobu, and more importantly the Feudal Lord, that's confirming a pattern that ends with somebody losing their head. Because once again, a traitor is inside of the village. We know Boruto's innocent, but that's dramatic irony. They don't know it. In their mind, Boruto's the guy who killed the 7th Hokage, and that's not gonna change. As soon as they see Boruto, it's basically on sight. Now, whether or not Boruto grabs the strap and makes them pay for that line of thinking, that remains to be seen in character. Obviously, Boruto won't do that, but you get what I'm saying. And Shikamaru, right now, he is the one standing the most exposed in terms of the position he's currently in. And I want you to take a look at something. This conflict is pretty brilliant when you view things from this perspective, which is that there are parallel battlefields being set up right now. And the brilliance in all of this is that the parallel battlefields are directly because of what's going on with Boruto Uzumaki. There's a entire subplot that I've been screaming about since chapter 5 or chapter 6 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, which is that there's a political subplot that has been brewing in the background, and it looks like we're finally starting to get some of the political fallout. And I really think that this is probably some of the best stuff that 2 Blue Vortex could do in terms of raising the stakes and elevating the story. Not everything has to be Rasengan go boom boom bam bam. That's what a lot of us are here for, but the Naruto world building is a lot richer than how many fancy jutsu can you use to shove up somebody's ass. So this conflict is brilliant in my opinion. This is where Boruto 2 Blue Vortex is quietly becoming one of the smartest Naruto era stories that are being told. On one side of Konoha, you have Boruto in the next generation fighting against Mamushi. Raw power, sacrifice, instinct. On the other, you have Shikamaru versus Kobu. You have paperwork, authority, and implication at work here. A silent war of words and a silent war of wits. One battlefield is loud and explosive. The other is silent and suffocating. The irony, it is devastating. Shikamaru can win the physical war and still lose everything in the process. That's a level of tension that does fit with the story. And it fits Shikamaru being Hokage perfectly. And there's also a historical parallel that is very important here, because this storyline directly pulls from Japanese history. And Naruto as a franchise has always pulled from Japanese history or Japanese Shinto or Japanese Buddhism and just reframed it to fit the Naruto world. So during the Nara period of Japan, which Naruto has borrowed heavily from at times, officials were routinely removed, not for proven treason, but for association with rival factions. Suspicion alone could end a career. By the Edo period of Japan, the Tokugawa shogunate, that was a perfect example of this. That perfected the strategy. Surveillance, it replaced trust. Daimyo were stripped of power preemptively. Stability mattered more than justice itself. Kobu embodies this philosophy perfectly. Shikamaru embodies the shinobi world's attempt to evolve beyond it. And Boruto now embodies that twist. And that's where the brilliance of the subplot really comes into play, because you have to remember, we have the Ino subplot. She said, "I will not help you." Kashin Koji just happens to have Ino's son working with him, and Sai is already giving Shikamaru the side eye, and he thinks that somebody has been communicating with Konohamaru illegally. There's a political storm brewing here. Removing Shikamaru might feel like the correct political move, but it could also doom the future. And that brings us to a bigger loaded gun question. Does Shikamaru intentionally lose? And that's the most unsettling possibility. It goes ironically back to what we got during the Akatsuki suppression arc, when Shikamaru, in that flashback when he's playing shogi with Asuma, was quick to use the climbing silver strategy. Is Shikamaru now in a position where he has to use climbing silver? Obviously, he's not dying the way that Asuma did, though if he did die, it'd be like a 900 IQ, because he'd be getting out of a lot of child support that will come whenever Tamari realizes that there's a super stud named Kiba in the Hidden Leaf Village that will be a much better husband for her, and she would divorce Shikamaru and get with Kiba, end up smelling like some wet dog somewhere, and Shikamaru be paying child support for Shikadai. If he pulled a Asuma, he'd dodge all of that. But Shikamaru may realize something that Kobu never will, that Shikamaru might have to sacrifice his position as one final necessary move, despite Kashin Koji's warning. It's a calculated gamble, one that may have to be made, just like Asuma taught him, just like shogi always demands. Some moves are unavoidable. Kobu may win the argument, Shikamaru may still win the war. And if that happens, this won't be a story of a genius finally being outplayed. It'll be a story of a leader who chose to fall so that the future would not fall. Basically, when Boruto's proven innocent and Naruto's unsealed and Jiraiya is defeated, Shikamaru may go down as, ironically, the greatest Hokage who was never Hokage at all. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, clicking on the left to check out more Naruto Explained videos, or click here on the right to check out videos from other two anime channels where I talk about non-Naruto anime and manga.